welcome back to another Brew Crack. Today we have a little bit of a different setup. We are going to be talking about Loughran Family Malt, and we have invited Kevin Ayers from Brew Keepers. I'm actually must check, Kevin, have I pronounced your name correctly there?
You got it.
Yeah. So we have Kevin on from Brew Keepers, and we just want to talk to you about our new campaign to celebrate St. Patrick's Day and our Irish heritage. So Kevin, how are you first of all?
Fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in Wheeling, West Virginia, in the States. Yeah, super excited.
Great.
Uh,
Well, we'd love to hear about your brewery you have and everything about how it started, how you set it up, its history, your, your Irish heritage, and yeah, tell us a little bit more about yourself as well.
sure. So it all started, I guess, I started brewing about 20, let's call it 23 years ago. I was living in near my parents, and my dad and I started doing some brewing at a brew on premises situation where it was a microbrewery, and they had like rental pots. So it's kind of like going to the bowling alley and renting a bowling lane. But you got to go and we got to know the head brewer pretty well, Garen. So we got a huge interest in brewing beer and craft beer in general. And then I left that area and came to where I live now. And it, I was racing bicycles at the time. So I kind of got away from brewing altogether. And back in 2000 and let's call it 2010, 2011, I quit racing bicycles and decided I needed a hobby. So I picked up home brewing, and in the second competition, I entered a dry Irish stout, and I won. So it kind of took off from there. Long story short, my wife was traveling for work, so I started heading down to the pub and hanging out with my business partner,
Yeah.
and he got interested in brewing, and so he started coming up, and about 4 years went by, and I had 2,400 bottles of beer and 6 kegs in my basement. And then I got laid off from corporate America, and my wife said we had already been to the Great American Beer Festival and all these other festivals, and we had won several homebrew competitions. She said, "Hey, why go back in corporate America when you can open a brewery and make people happy?" So here we are.
Wow, that's brilliant that you've had something that was so passionate to you and a hobby, and you made it into your career.
Yeah, super lucky. You always hear people saying, do what you love because you never work a day in your life. I mean, you still have to work the business, but it's not a job. It's so much fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, how did you come across Loughran Family Malt? Was it maybe in the early stages, or what point did you come across our
Yeah.
already?
So early on, we were in the planning stages of the brewery. We were basically looking for a contractor to provide all of our malt and all of our hops and yeast and so on and so forth. So I did a lot of research on each section of that, and found that Country Malt Group in Asheville, North Carolina, or well, where we get our malt from in Asheville. They had a great opportunity where they provided a lot of product, a lot of different products. We try to follow the BJCP judging guidelines pretty rigorously. We don't use any chemicals in any of our beers, or malt extracts or anything. So it's all pure grain. I actually have it tattooed on my arm. so, uh, so we started researching. We found that Country Malt Group had a wide variety of stuff, and we are very partial to Irish and Scottish styles of beer. Northwest Europe as opposed to Northeast. We do some German things, and my business partner's sister-in-law is Slovakian, so we do a Czech dark lager. But when we found them, I immediately gravitated towards Loughran the malts, because I wanted to incorporate it into the dry Irish stout that we won, and we made it into a foreign extra stout. Then the guidelines were changed to Irish extra stout, which we were super excited about because that's what our beer is. And we actually have also an Irish red ale. We've had people from Ireland come in and say is one of the best ones they've ever had. So we're super, super humble and proud of that. So in all of our beers, our Irish beers and Scottish beers, we try to use Loughran malts and incorporate that. And even like if it's an IPA malt, that doesn't necessarily mean we use it in IPAs. We use it in other facets depending on the level bond and how it reacts with the beer we're making.
Wow,
super.
really
It's
honored.
pretty exciting and pretty impressive. What do you call the so the dry Irish stout? Is that a core beer or is that a season?
No, that's a core beer. Also, our Aaron Jerg, which is our Irish red, that is one of our core beers as well.
What do you call the stout?
Irish Pirate.
Very good, cool.
So my wife and my business partner and I were the owners. I felt like we always felt like we were pirates. We were always kind of excluded. We don't sort of fit in. So we're like, okay. And my business partner is mostly Scottish. He's a small guy that, you have to have your token guy with the beard. So yeah, so he's mostly Scottish. So he gravitates more towards the Scottish style ales and things like that, where I gravitate more towards the Irish style. So it's a good mix. We really like it.
Terrific. So you guys are in Wheeling, right? So that's kind of west of Pittsburgh, I think. I was looking at the map.
Yeah, so we're just southwest of Pittsburgh by about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
But yeah, in the eastern part of the United States.
Yeah, so I was just trying to get an idea of whereabouts it was. I haven't been to that part of the closest I've been is probably when we CBC in Philadelphia a couple of years ago was probably the closest I got to that, but that's still a few hours away from where you are.
Yeah, a little bit.
So the bags on the ceiling, you gotta tell me about that because they look fantastic.
Yeah, so my friends of mine own the building. We looked at it prior to opening our brewery originally, but we decided to open the brewery in another location, just growler crowler takeout and self-distribution for wholesale on restaurants and pubs. Mm-hmm. And when my friends bought it, they eventually wanted to sell. So we're like, okay, we can't miss this opportunity twice. Where I'm sitting right now is actually a deck with a huge garage door in the front. So in the summertime, or actually even tomorrow is supposed to have 66-degree temperatures here and sunny.
Okay.
So we'll open the garage door up and you'll be sitting on a deck inside. So people on the street and everything can see this. But the ceilings were basically trusses, with insulation. Mm-hmm. And so I kept thinking, well, we have to cover that up. We can't just leave that raw and have customers sitting here looking up at an ugly ceiling.
Yeah.
Ironically, and I know this is probably going to come in later, but I happen to have the bag that was signed. So yeah, there we go. So I got that, and I was so impressed and just kind of humbled by that. And again, we love the use of the malt. We love the way it reacts in our beers. So I started collecting them and saying, hey, what if we covered the whole ceiling with this? Yeah. So there was a little bit of a challenge there. We actually had to go through the local fire department and find out what the burn rate and everything, the melting point was on the bags. Luckily, the folks at Country Malt Group had us in the right direction. They actually had all of that documentation. Yeah. They also gave us to Breeze, which is more local. And they also provided us with some other documentation on their bags as well, just so we had some backup.
Yep.
Without actually contacting like you guys. But it was cool that they had that documentation. We were able to provide that to the fire department, and they're like, absolutely, you can use this to cover your bag, cover your ceiling. So there are 97 bags total on our ceiling. And I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, it looks super. It really does. I can't remember where we came across the picture, but I think maybe you tagged us in or something. And it just looks brilliant.
Yeah, and when I seen it, I sent it to James, of course, straight away, and we were like, wow, we have to get talking to these guys.
And I see you have a couple of bags up there of our IPA malt. I think I saw a couple of green ones as well.
Yeah, so originally I was a little upset by that actually, because it was supposed to be all the just the Irish pale malt. But I left for the weekend, and my contractor, ceilings here are about 20 feet high, so I had to have a scaffolding to put them up. And I did all the work myself except for right over the top of the doorway, because it's a little bit taller, and it's on a slope, so I couldn't use the scaffolding. So I had to use like ladders with like boards put in between, and I wasn't real comfortable with that. So I said to him, I was like, "Hey, how do we want to tackle this?" And I got a picture. I was, like I said, I was out of town. I got a picture from him and said, "Hey, it's done." And I was like, "Wait, what did you use?" And apparently he found them downstairs in a
Okay.
file that I was saving. So yeah, so there's a section right there.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? I was like, you know what? It's right over the doorway, and it kind of sections off, almost like
Yeah.
you would do a room floor. It sections off the ceiling to know that that's right over the entryway. So yeah.
It's really good. It's really, really good. So do
Yeah.
you guys have much like of a slowdown with during winter time or anything like that, or do you find that kind of things have been steady enough all year round? I'm guessing with the deck, you're probably busier during summer.
That's correct. We do have a little bit of a slowdown, but it's particularly in the January February times.
Yep.
About 2 weeks ago, it was in the single digits here, so it can get cold at times. The past couple of winters have been really good for us, but this winter it was pretty chilly. Ironically, we had single digit temperatures, and a week later, I had the garage door open. So go figure. So. But yeah, it's a little bit slow here. We're actually in a what's called center market. So I have sort of a walking mall area right across the street with a fish market and a deli and some antique shopping and so on and so forth. So it's a unique history or part of history here in the city of Wheeling. And I'm lucky enough to have our building right across the street from that. So we have a lot of walking traffic. So the nicer it is outside, the more walking traffic you have, the more people want to sit outside. Or just come in and sit, and be able to watch the people walking and shopping.
That's terrific. So I'm guessing with the Irish affinity, there must be some Irish heritage or family connection there going back a little. Is that right?
There is. My parents are doing quite a bit of genealogy work. Unfortunately, that's the side we're still unclear about. I do know that my grandfather's great grandfather was from Ireland. But my grandfather's last name was Callahan, so my mother's maiden name was Callahan, and He was a short boxer. He was a feisty little guy, and loved him to death, and miss him dearly. So yeah, he was. So that's where I get my Irish heritage. And they always say I have a little bit of an Irish temper. I always have the great smile, and I'm really personable. But when I get upset, it cracks off.
Yeah.
So.
passionate. Yeah, you definitely are very passionate about what you do. It's very apparent. And part of our, ahead of St. Patrick's Day, we started this mission to share our Irish heritage with brewers across America and the United States. And really the idea was, I know James is very passionate about his Irish heritage and sharing that with you, which is why, he signs his bags. And, when we heard about the sealing being covered in the bags, we had to find out more. So I guess maybe James, you could tell us a little bit about your background and your upbringing and your heritage.
Yeah, well, like I suppose just so Kevin, you understand a little bit about where we come from. My family have been on this farm since 1908. So I think it's like six generations now is where it gets to, which is a terrific piece of heritage and a pretty reasonable responsibility that we have in terms of taking care of the property and then passing it on to the next generation in a better condition than we found it in. And one way we do that is just by trying to grow grape barley for malt, especially malt for craft, and then getting that into the hands of great brewers who do magic things with it, like what you guys do at Brew Keepers. So like a lot of that is down to really climate has a lot to do with it. We get quite long days here during the summer. It doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold. So like our temperatures are, we only have maybe 10 to 12 nights of frost, and temperatures seldom above in the 70s during the summer, which is great. So the barley doesn't get really stressed. And it's a long growing season. So it's like a 6 month growing season, whereas maybe in North America, it can be 3 or 4. So it kind of gives the barley quite a chunk of time to develop slowly. And that's where a lot of those flavor compounds come from. And that's why you tend to get a very different result with barley, with malt. You tend to get a very different result with beer made with malt from Irish or UK barley compared to even continental European or North American. Mostly it's due to that time and that milder temperate climate. But it's just incredible for me to be able to see something that I put in the field and nurse it and grow it and take it through its life cycle and have it malted and then put in a bag and ship it all the way across the States, and find people like Kevin who not only make great beer with it and see it as more than just an ingredient, and see it as more than just a tool to make beer. It's something that adds great value, I think, to what you guys do. It certainly you find it important, and we can see that from the decor in the brewery, and it's just, I'm very proud to see those bags. I'm touched that you guys value what we do so much, because it does take quite a lot of work from the guys in the farm, the guys in the field, people in marketing like Joan and the other admin and warehouse guys. So to see it being valued and appreciated, not just as an ingredient, but as more than an ingredient, as part of your story, part of your heritage, it's breathtaking, to be honest. And we just want to take a moment to say thanks for doing it, and looking forward to actually seeing it in person sometime really soon.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you guys here. Like I said, I've got a friend of mine who comes here to this area to hang out with some acquaintances that he lives there in Ireland. He drinks our Irish Red when he's here. He loves it. Super humbled. Like I said, I love the product. You nailed it. They talk about shopping local and using local things, and we currently are having a sort of an uprising of like hop growers in this area and things like that, and they want to know, hey, could you use our hops? And I'm like, well, not really, way, because we need a certain amount and with a certain quality that can keep consistent, because we do a lot of core beers. We have 13 beers on tap all the time. And then we only do 3 seasonals, or have 3 taps for seasonals and special beers. And, I agree with you when you said, the European, specifically like the England and the Irish malts, I keep saying react. They're softer and supple and more full bodied. And you get a lot of great value for that. In our homebrew club, which I used to be the president, and I still host their meetings here at the brewery. I've got a guy here from England, and he's a chemist. So he's very partial to, obviously, his English malts. And we have some great conversations about that same topic. And I just found Loughran malts, not to talk you guys up even more, but I just found them to be just such a superior quality when it comes to our award-winning stout, our Irish Red, which is unique, and then anytime we can incorporate it into something new, which we have for St. Patrick's Day coming up, we try to do so.
So what is it that you guys did for St. Patrick's Day? Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
So maybe you'll be proud of this, but I find it to be sacrilege to make green beer. I hate it. It bothers me. It drives me crazy. So every year I always put, I always say we have the Irish Red and the stout. But during the Christmas holiday, we rolled out 5 beers consecutively. And one of the beers I rolled out was sort of a test batch, and also needed to use up some ingredients of your malt that I had like some extra stuff sitting around, as well as I had some extra honey sitting there. So we made what I'm calling an Irish honey lager. It's sort of in the Kolsch fashion, just like they would do in Germany, but we don't use any German ingredients. It's all Irish. But I use a Kolsch yeast because just because of our fermentation opportunity here. We don't have really cold enough temperatures to lager, so the Kolsch yeast works well. So we took the yeast and then used your malt and then honey to make an Irish honey lager. So now this St. Patrick's Day, I'm super excited to have both the light, the red, and the dark beer to be able to put on display. So yeah.
That's pretty good. And like, cold beers are just I think they're great for breweries to brew because you can turn them around so much faster. You don't have to go through the whole extensive lager process, and they're a really good way of getting that crisp, refreshing beer, which is lovely this time of year when it starts getting a little bit brighter, and hopefully mid-March will be bright and sunny in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here. I think we're sitting right at 65 and sunny, so I kind of wish we were open today, but that's okay.
You guys open on specific? You're not open on a Tuesday, is it, or what days do you open?
Yeah, so we're just like Wednesday, Thursday, like noon to like 8 o'clock at night, and then Friday and Saturday we're only open noon to 10.
Okay.
So yeah, we're very limited as far as our time frame. We get out of here early. We're not one of those really late night college, kind of pubs. We've got a much more mature crowd that comes in here and enjoys it. We're also bring your own food. So there's several places here in the market that serve food, but they have limited seating. So we allow them to bring their food in here. So it kind of expanded their dining rooms. And also none of the places here serve beer. So it's a great opportunity for people to get stuff in the market and then bring it over and be able to sit and listen to some music or watch some sports and sit here and have a flight or a pint of beer with their food.
Do you guys sell off premise as well, or is everything sold on premise on tap?
No, we're in 15 local restaurants and pubs. We've got probably about 30 to 35 taps out there. At our peak, we were at 40, 24 locations, 47 taps. But when we opened the tap room, of course, that dialed back because obviously you could get our beer here and not just everywhere else. So people were coming here. So some of the restaurants dialed back, some went out of business. We picked up other clients, so on and so forth. Plus, with the whole COVID situation, it kind of changed. But everything's picking back up here, so we're in good shape.
Yeah, and how is COVID kind of affecting Wheeling? Is COVID numbers starting to drop back down and things starting to go back to normal?
Yeah, we're starting to go back to normal. Our restaurants are now open 100%. We still have the mask orders and social distancing orders in place, but your seating capacity, so you can walk in and then sit and consume and take your mask off at that point.
Yeah.
But if you're up and about, they ask you to put the mask on. But yeah, starting to come down in the States. We didn't lock down as much as like England did, where they had the second strand, but they're waiting to get everybody vaccinated. We didn't go kind of that route, but yeah, things are starting to get back a little bit more to normal.
Yeah, hopefully by kind of midsummer, we hope to see something similar here, whereby we can start getting back normal. It's still quite restrictive, but we hope that'll change as numbers continue to fall, and once it gets back to normal, we'll be able to have a more social kind of an existence, I guess. That's what we're looking for.
My wife and I were actually supposed to be in Ireland last October, but because of COVID, obviously that didn't happen. So we're hoping we can get it scheduled for this year. But again, we don't want to schedule anything not knowing. So hopefully we're going to get over there this year.
You'll definitely have to come look us up if you got a moment. We're not that far from Dublin Airport, so we'd be delighted to see you and show you what we do and show you a good time if you make it over.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, my buddy Patty was like, he's like, you come over, I will show you the whole country. So I'm like, I'm in. I don't want to just stay in Dublin. I want to get out.
Yeah. You want to see around.
Yeah. Speaking of Paddy, we're celebrating a lot more virtually this St. Patrick's Day. And thanks for coming on. And it will be raising a glass to Brew Keepers this St. Patrick's Day for sure. So thank you very much for coming on, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
That was it. We hope you have a great day and a great festival. And is there any particular events happening in Wheeling for St. Patrick's Day?
So this weekend is our Celtic festival. We actually have an Irish Rite building, a huge Irish heritage here in Wheeling. We have the largest Irish road bowling contest in the United States.
Wow. Okay.
So Brew Keepers has a team. So go Team Brew Keepers for the Irish road bowling. Yeah, so they do a Celtic festival here, and a lot of the local restaurants obviously then stock up on our beer, which is really nice to get that out there because yeah, they really enjoy it.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and certainly best of luck in the road bowling contest. That is not something that we see very much of anymore here, and it's sad because it's a fantastic sport. But I hope you guys have a lot of fun.
Because we didn't have one last year, we're having two this year. We're having one in the spring and one in the fall.
Yeah, way to go.
Okay, great. Thanks a million, Kevin.
All right.
All right, Kevin. Thank you so much for coming on.
Bye.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys.
Hope to see you.